All right. We're back. And I think I figured out at least part of the problem I was having yesterday with the boat flying into space. So basically, the problem is that my multiplier, because I'm transforming it into global space, at certain rotations it goes negative, which is not what I want, because this thing shouldn't have a direction. So I think the solution is probably just to absolute value all of the components. So we're gonna try that and see what happens. Because I don't think there's no vector 3 dot absolute event, yeah. So less think, more code. No. We think about things around here. What is Unity 6000? It's Unity 6. It's like the next version after Unity 2023. Oh my, it's been ages since I saw this game. Fair, it's been a hot second. This is not what I want happening right now. Aye. I mean, at least it's not going to space anymore, and that's like kind of promising. It's probably too small. Does this help at all? Yeah, that eliminates the sideways movement. Big bro, I thought you were dead. Yeah, I've been kind of MIA, haven't I? I've been doing good. I've just been busy working mostly and not really spending my free time doing game development. Sigma grinding. I mean, I don't know if I would use those words, but sure. Okay, well, this is definitely promising. This is a lot better than what I was getting yesterday. The only problem is that this value should be a lot smaller, and if I do that, then the boat starts like sliding sideways. Pirate game released in 2058? Probably, yeah. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Yes, I switched to Fusion, Alex. I don't want to spend my free time building more multiplayer tech when I already do it for my day job, you know? What kind of progress have you made? Not a whole lot. Most of the time I did have done any work on this project in the last, like, 3 years has just been rebuilding and cleaning stuff up. So, in terms of the actual state of the project, not much has really progressed. So we need more, like, sideways drag. Which maybe... I mean, the other problem is that at this low drag coefficient value, the thing rotates way too easily. How's Fusion treating you? Does the time spent doing that code from scratch feel like a waste? I would say not a waste at all, because that's basically the reason I have a job, you know? Doing it on my own and building Riptide and stuff is a big part of how I ended up working for Photons, so without it I wouldn't have gotten there, which, you know, I'm glad I did. When will the playtest be, you think? I have no idea. I mean, I still don't have a whole lot of free time to, like, work on this project, and it's pretty far from being playable, so I don't know. I don't have any idea when playtests might happen. I'm trying to think about how to best approach this, because one thing I was thinking about, like, if you look at this right now, the boat is so bouncy that it, like, it slowly increases in how much it tilts, like, front to back like this. It just keeps getting worse. So I think this is happening because I'm applying the drag forces at each, like, sample position, but then gravity is only applied in the middle, which means gravity isn't really applying much torque to the thing, but all the drag forces are. So either I need to apply gravity at each point separately, or I need to make it more resistant to, like, the rotation that the drag forces induce. But I don't know which way to go. Yeah, it's like it's way too bouncy right now. Too tired to misbehave. That's for the best, you know? If I split this into 8 and apply it at each point, maybe it'll... Why don't we just try this? I think I need to divide by 8, right? Because otherwise we're gonna get... but I don't know if that's how that actually works. Because if instead of applying gravity at the center of gravity, if I now spread it out... Why don't we just do this, leave it for the moment. I'm assuming this is going to result in the boat accelerating too fast downwards. Oh, and I can't do that, huh? Oh no, I just need to, right, I need a position, obviously. Yeah, okay. Oh. Okay, well, it's just gone then.
Programming is cool, they said.
Oops. Does it actually show that I'm live, like, on my... Oh my goodness, stop it. I don't think it shows that I'm live streaming when I visit my own channel. It says unlisted. Yeah, that's what it's showing me in studio too, but how do I change this in here? Edit. Because I only want it to be unlisted after I'm done streaming, so... Okay, I think now it's public. Keep it listed. No. I don't want it unlisted because then nobody knows I'm streaming. Okay, now it shows up on my channel page. That's what I want. That also explains why I had like 50 viewers yesterday and 7 today. Okay. So clearly this needs to be divided by... Is that right? Yeah, okay. Everyone's joining. Are they? Promising. Are you back now? I'm kind of back to working on the game, yes, but only in my free time, which is not a whole lot of time, so we'll see how far we get today and over the next few weeks. Okay, that looks more promising. Although it's still... Is the bounce increasing again? Or is it... I feel like it's better. It's been a few years? Yeah, it has been a few years. Have you made any progress over the 3 years? Not really. Oh, what the... Why is it... Okay, wait, why am I suddenly able to, as the player, push the boat around? That's not right. No, I haven't made a whole bunch of progress because it's, I kind of just didn't touch the project for 3 years. So things are largely as they were as of the last devlog. Aside from I've been reworking the buoyancy physics because updating to Unity 6 broke them. So how did it go yesterday? Pretty good. We left off yesterday with the boat flying away at random times, and we fixed that now. But suddenly why is it so susceptible to any sort of force now? Like it's behaving as if there was no drag on it, which I guess there isn't a whole lot. What if we like change this to what if we multiply all these by 10? Does that help at all? Doesn't seem like it. Must be hard coming back to a game. How do you understand your code after that time? I mean, I feel like the code is relatively simple, actually. On the bright side of things, like, the game doesn't have very many mechanics and is not very fleshed out, so coming back to it actually isn't that hard so far, which is nice, but I feel like I actually wrote a pretty decent code. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but okay, this is not bad, but there's definitely way too much sideways drift. Look at that. Ay, ay, ay. Suddenly Unity closed and I got a message my license is revoked. What could I have done? Revoked or like expired? Because I know sometimes Unity Hub like asks you to re-verify your license or whatever. Maybe you just need to do that. Welcome back, bro. It's nice to see you here again after years. Yeah, it's good to be back working on this game. I enjoy this. It's just I have less free time than I used to, so it's hard to make progress. And when you, I mean, I've said this a few times, but when you work on programming as your day job, it's like, I don't know, other things kind of take priority for free time. So, I mean, this is much better than it was for sure, but that's definitely too much sideways drift. So Maybe that'll help. I feel like it's not really moving much. It's going very slowly. Did you figure out the goofy boat flinging from yesterday? I did, yes. It seems that the issue with that was basically this portion right here. This is just supposed to be a multiplier, but obviously when I converted to global space, what I wanted was like the ratios to be right for the different axes, but I didn't want this to contain any sort of direction. But depending on the rotation of the boat, transforming this vector would sometimes make part of it negative. So just putting, like, making all of the components their absolute values solved that issue. Because what was basically happening is that I was multiplying something by a negative, and that was flipping the direction of the drag being applied, so it would just increase more and more. Okay, now the real test. Maybe I should grab some of these values though. The other thing is, I don't think this needs to be that big. Maybe that'll help move. I don't know, I feel like the boat is not... It seems to not move very fast, but maybe the force just isn't big enough. That could very well be. I feel like that's pretty good now, but it's not what I want in terms of speed. I feel like the drag in the forward direction is too big. And like every time it sinks into the water, it slows down a lot. I joined lately. Did you use package for C or did you do it by yourself? The water is fully custom, so I put that all together myself. The shaders and the waves and the buoyancy. I'm not using any assets for it. Okay, I feel like this is probably good. I can work with this 0.2, 9.5, and 100 there. Looks clean, man. Thank you. Do we go faster if we go in the other direction? I feel like that would make sense. My right mouse button keeps double clicking, which is a little bit annoying. The turn speed is also really slow. Why is that so? Is it because of this value? No. Okay, do we go any faster now? Doesn't really feel like it. Okay. Why are we shaking like this? What is going on here? What the heck? Is it a kraken? I mean, could be if that was a thing. Oh my goodness, my mouse right click. That's really strange that this is shaking like that. Does this need a bigger value? Does that help at all? This is the problem with like physics-driven vehicles. Getting the values right can be pretty finicky. Will the live stream be saved? Yeah, it'll go in the there's an unlisted playlist on my channel of live streams. It'll go in there as well when it's over. Why does it tilt so much? Because, like, imagine trying to shoot cannons with the boat wobbling like this. This is not going to work at all. Like, how are you supposed to aim at anything? So I need to make the thing more resistant to rotation as a whole. Cannons look good though. You mean the model or like the way they shoot? Or the cannonballs? Or all of it? Maybe you mean all of it. I mean, the way they shoot. Yeah, I mean, I do like... What I do want to do, I think, is make them shoot the balls faster though. So that you... Because like compared to how fast the cannonball would be coming out of here in real life, like these things are traveling very slowly. But then again, like, I don't know, maybe part of the skill would be in figuring out how high you need to aim to hit somebody. Riptide is awesome, using it to create server meshing multiplayer right now, having a blast. Thanks for all your hard work. You're most welcome. I'm glad you're enjoying it. That sounds like a lot of work though. Are you planning explosion effects on other ships? I don't know about explosions, but definitely some kind of particle effect of like wooden planks flying. Why is this only 720p? Is it only 720p? I'm pretty sure I'm streaming 1440p. Does it actually show me anywhere here? Max is 720. What? That doesn't seem right. My output is set to 1440p in OBS. And I was streaming 1440p yesterday, as far as I know. So I'm not sure why it would have dropped. Unless... Maybe there's like a chance that because I started the stream in unlisted mode, YouTube decided it's not important to like have a high resolution. I don't know. But I'm streaming 1440p to YouTube, so I don't know what's going on their end. I mean, I can try like maybe here. I'll try ending my stream from OBS and just restarting it and seeing what happens. So I'll probably cut out for a moment. Okay, I think we're back. But I don't know, has that changed anything? Still 720. Why is my YouTube stream not the same resolution? Oh, did it change? Or is everybody saying no, as in it hasn't changed? It's still 720. None of this seems particularly helpful. Okay, well, none of these are the issue, that's for sure. You may need to create a separate stream key specifically for 1440p streaming. Oh, I don't want to watch a video on stream, no thank you. I don't know why that would be the case. The YouTube stream key must be set to 720p. Okay, but I was streaming 1440p yesterday, was I not? Let me go check that one. Oh no, that one's also 720p. What? So maybe there's a YouTube setting I need to fix somewhere. Well, it went from interesting content to a troubleshooting stream. RIP. Maybe we abandon the troubleshooting and I'll try and figure it out for next time. It's been a while since you've been active. Could it be a channel restriction? In theory, that's certainly possible. It could be that. Oh, hold on. I think I know what the problem is. Why is it set to ultra low latency? I definitely had that selected on low latency. But this says it doesn't support closed captions or 1440p. But I'm unable to adjust this while the stream is going, so I'd have to... Okay, I can end the stream, modify the setting and restart, or we just leave it as is and I'll fix it for next time. Thoughts? Leave it for next time. Yeah, I think that's probably the way to go. Especially because I think every time I go live, it sends a notification to subscribers, possibly. Unless I disabled that, I don't know. Anyways, what were we doing? I completely forgot. Oh yeah, I was gonna... Oh no, I had played around with the buoyancy values. And I need to set them so they actually... I think this was 9.5. This was 10. Did I leave this at 50 or 100? I don't remember. Since it was unlisted, it didn't send a notification. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, the 720p max seems to be because I apparently have the like stream latency set to ultra low, which doesn't support 1440p. But apparently, like, I don't know, I thought I had it on low latency, which should support 1440p. But I'll make sure I fix that for next time. Seems fine though, the quality. That's good. I think the other thing I wanted to check was if I re-enable the actual wind forces. Let's see what happens. Who needs to see the text in Unity? That's true. I mean, depends on how closely you're trying to pay attention here. Low supports it. Yeah, low definitely support, like the low latency stream supports 1440p. But for some reason mine is set to ultra low, even though I could have sworn I had it on just regular low. Okay, and then... Oops. Bro, for real, literally making Sea of Thieves. Yeah, I mean, at the moment it definitely looks very similar. Okay, here we go. Let's see if we go flying again. When will you make a new video? I don't know yet. That depends on when I get enough like progress together for, you know, there to be content to make a video about, which could be a while. I feel like we're moving very slowly considering those are some rather large force vectors. I have a banger name idea. Sea of Thieves, the return of the thieves to Electric Boogaloo. Wow. Inspirational. Okay, this side to side motion is terrible. And the boat is not turning. Can we turn faster, please? Which networking are you using in Unity? I've switched to Photon Fusion because, well, I work for them, and so I work on that as my like day job basically, and I don't feel like building more custom like multiplayer tech in my free time. I would rather actually work on the game, so I've decided to just use their stuff. Plus that just, you know, overall, like this is a huge project and that saves me a bunch of time. So I can actually work on gameplay for once, because basically when I was actively working on this, the main thing that I spent time on was always the networking. So this game looks great. The sea is just so nice. Yeah, it happens somewhat regularly that I just get stuck like looking at it because it's, I don't know. Not to pat myself on the back too much, but I feel like I did a pretty good job with the water. I thought of building something like this a few years ago and started poking at it, but it got stuck in the weeds. Stoked to see someone working through it though. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of weeds to get stuck in here, especially when you're building your own multiplayer tech, so I'm kind of glad that that phase is behind me and I'm not doing that anymore. I don't like how bouncy this is. It doesn't feel right. This is actually, I'm impressed with how well this is holding up right now, because I remember, I feel like the last time I worked on the sailing mechanics and the way the wind pushes the boat, I was also having some issues with the boat flying into space, where like at certain points the values would just get too big. But so far that hasn't happened, which is very promising. Hey, Tom is back. Yep, I'm back. It's kind of crazy. About the time I subbed to you, I was in high school back then. Now I'm at university. Time flies by. Yeah, it does. I can't believe that the last video I uploaded was 3 years ago. Okay, yeah, we're definitely way too bouncy because literally the water is coming through the front of the boat. Oh my goodness. What is happening? Are we just going too fast? Because this is not acceptable. Oh boy. Okay, so there's definitely an issue The forces when you're out of the water are crazy. Oh, okay, I definitely spoke too soon. No. How am I still on the boat? What? Incredible. Did you make the 3D models yourself? I did, yeah. Okay, but now why have we stopped moving entirely? I think I need to let the sail out more. Yeah, there we go. The boat is swaying a bit too much, doesn't match the visible waves. Yeah. There's still something funny going on with the physics. But I feel like it's now... At least when you're sailing with the waves, I feel like it's pretty good. And I think it's at a point where maybe I can move on to doing something else for a bit. Because I've kind of had enough of reading about drag forces and stuff. Needs more rotation resistance. Yeah, that's what I've been thinking, because the bouncing just seems to happen where it goes from, like, you know, front to back. And that shouldn't be happening. I need to see all your old vids and sleep. Well, have a good night. The moment of inertia seems way too low on the boat when there's a lot of resistance to flow being an uncompressible liquid. The moment of inertia seems way too low on the boat. Well, I think I have Unity calculating that automatically. Right, yeah, I think, because I think that's related to the automatic tensor calculation, right? Oh, we've beached, but we're still going. That's crazy. Goodbye. Which engine is this? This is Unity. Still in the custom networking phase for my games. Oh boy. Though mine does no rollback and only some basic client prediction. It's not a competitive game though, so I hope that it still works. I mean, if it's not competitive, you can really get away without those things. Why not Unreal Engine? Because then I would have to learn C++. And I would have to rebuild all the things I've built over the years. And also, I don't know, I've just heard that using Unreal Engine can be kind of a pain. Like the build times are long and yeah. If I were to switch away from Unity, the other thing is, well, Photon Fusion only like exists for Unity right now. We're working on it internally for Unreal as well, but that's not available to the public yet. So I would have to swap out the networking as well. And I just don't feel like doing that again. What do you think about Unity 6 compared to the older versions? I mean, I feel like not a whole lot has changed. There were some major changes with the rendering pipeline, and so I had to rewrite all of my custom renderer features that are used for the water. Are we leaking company plans? No, this is public information. That's what we're working on. Don't use C++, real men use Rust and Godot. Yeah, but also, you know, real men use technologies that are like 20 years old because they're what the software is built in, and legacy code, you know, doesn't move forward. Godot is fun, no compile time for scripts. If I were to switch to like an engine without any regard for, you know, networking solutions or whatever, or other things I need, I think I would probably consider trying out Flax Engine, because they also use C#, and that thing is fast from what I've used it a teeny tiny little bit just for some experiments, and it even just like the build time is crazy fast, and like a scene full of rigid bodies and stuff starts virtually instantly. It's pretty crazy. So I think if I was to switch to a different engine, I would probably try Flax. But then I have to like switch all of my stuff over, which is kind of annoying. Blacks and Riptide then. Yeah, except that, I don't know, it's... Then I have to go back to building multiplayer systems in my hobby time, you know. I've just arrived. Have you fixed the bug of yesterday? Yes, I did. It was because... Hold on, where is it? Where's my... where's the boy? There it is. This multiplier was sometimes getting negative values because of this transform. And obviously then it's acting as a directional vector, which we don't want. So I just absoluted all the values and that fixed it basically. Anyways, I think... Maybe I just add back this angular drag that I had in the past. But I'm gonna have to calculate the values differently probably. Because this, or is this just... Oh no, it is. Okay, so that's like a static angular drag. Sorry for noob question, but I missed nothing from Riptide. What more could networking give, really? The main thing is like the high level stuff. So if you're using Riptide, you need to, you know, anytime you want to synchronize something, you have to set up a packet that sends like the data. And before I actually started working for Photon, I sort of started building like my own replication system, which would do that automatically for me. So like here before I switched to Fusion, let's see, what would have been something that I was using that in. I think all of the interactables have properties that were, yeah, see, so I had this like special class called net float, and that would store a float internally, but also handle tracking changes to the property. And if it changes, then it gets added to like the packet for that tick. And then it would get sent and automatically replicated. And then on the other end, this would fire like an event. This one right here for when the thing changes, so you can react to the changes. But even doing that, it was a lot of manual work. So now with Fusion, I can just, instead of doing that all manually, I don't think there's nothing networked in here. But for example, with the boat, or even, where's my capstan? There. So now I have this, I just stick a networked attribute on it and then have this onChanged render, which reacts to changes to the property. And then I can just set the value as like a regular property and it synchronizes automatically basically. And it also takes care of all the high level stuff like lag compensation for shooting people and client prediction, and it's just wrapped up nicely in a way where I don't really need to think about it, at least not anywhere near as much as I had to when I was doing it all myself. Finally caught a live stream. I followed your old tutorials on networking. It was great, set on a path learning a lot more about programming patterns in general. Well, I'm glad to hear that they were useful. What are your thoughts on Unity netcode for game objects? I haven't used it myself, but from everything I've read about it, it's good if you want to build like a small game, but I think even Unity themselves says that it doesn't really scale to, you know, if you want more than like 10 or 20 players. I remember there was a video and he just said, forget everything I teach you, just start using Photon. And then all the UDP and TCP client server codes were gone in an instant. Who said that? Because I haven't made a video saying to use Photon. And then all the UDP and TCP client server codes were gone. I mean, if you're talking about me, all of my like old code from those tutorials, like the tutorial videos are still up and the code is also still available on GitHub, so I don't know, maybe you're talking about someone else. Okay, let's... Oh, I deleted this method though. but that was just applying drag force in a what is it called? Add angular drag force, this one. Yeah, I was just converting it to global space and then back to... I said that? You were tutoring networking back then, it was not... What do you mean by tutoring? Because I never did any one-on-one tutoring, if that's what you mean. Maybe I said that on Discord at some point? I definitely didn't say that in a video, considering I haven't made a video since I started using Photon myself. Depends on the project too. Like for the project I'm working on, Riptide seems perfect. Yeah, absolutely. It depends on the project. If you're like things like, I don't know, card games are a good example. You really don't need photon fusion for it because, I mean, arguably at that point it's just overkill. Not to say that you can't make a card game with fusion, but I think you really don't need it necessarily, because especially like the high level stuff and the fancy latency mitigation techniques like lag compensation and prediction, you don't need those in a card game or even a turn-based game. So yeah, it definitely depends on the project. You can manually set the inertia tensor to make the boat feel more realistic. Okay, but how do I have no idea how to calculate a good inertia tensor. And I don't know if I'm like, this is what I was reading through yesterday. I don't know if I'm ready to learn about the nitty-gritty of inertia tensors. Never heard anything about Photon from you. Funny enough, I met the guy who made it, though. He was working on an entirely deterministic solution at the time, now called Quantum. What was his name? I probably know him. Are you talking about Frederick? Determinism seemed like a nightmare for networking, though. It's a nightmare to get it working, but the thing about determinism is that if you manage to make something deterministic, it's effectively networked by default. Because as long as you synchronize like players' inputs, everything else is then everything else can be deterministically determined, right? Don't remember the name. He did a lecture on networking where I was staying at the time in Sweden. If it was in Sweden, yeah, probably. Okay, inertia tensor. Polar, what do you know about inertia tensors? Because the problem is if I just search up like how to manually set inertia tensor unity, it's going to tell me like how to do it, but obviously I can just set this value. The problem is I don't know what to set it to. Honestly, just add a slider and tweak it until it feels good. The engine already calculates it automatically. Perhaps just make a multiple higher on each axis. That's not a bad idea. Okay, let's just comment this out again. And then let's put that here. Serialize field. Inertia tensor. Multiple. It's a long variable name. Equals 3.1, and then Maybe we'll do that from here. Rigid body dot inertia tensor. Oh, but the problem is I don't want to multiply it every time. I only want to multiply it by the automatically calculated value. GPT might have a solid idea, why not use it? Less fun that way. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really found the appeal of asking ChatGPT all my questions. But I don't know, maybe I'm missing out in terms of how productive I could be. The problem is, like, half the time it tells you things that aren't, like, fully accurate. So, I don't know. And then you end up wondering why your things don't work. What are your opinions on vibe coding? I don't know a whole lot about it, but from what I've heard, it's gonna be an absolute mess because everyone's churning out like half-baked applications that like function, but probably have a whole bunch of security flaws and stuff. And I don't know, they're probably also not particularly optimized. So I feel like, you know, AI already uses a lot of resources to generate stuff, but then if you're generating code in ways that's just really resource intensive, like there's definitely room for that to just become an, I don't know, kind of a snowball effect of wasting, you know, computing resources. Found it all right for doing boilerplate for Unity editor windows. That's fair. Boilerplate stuff it tends to be pretty good at. I need to like cache the default value or something. Okay, so what if right here auto inertia tensor, we set that to the rigid body dot inertia tensor, and then we disable rigid body dot inertia automatic. It's false, and then in here, if automatic inertia tensor is false, then we set that to auto multiplied by the inertia. Wait. Oh. Inertia tensor, there we go. AI just randomly picks different programming patterns and structure. Sounds like a nightmare waiting to happen. Yeah, there's definitely some lack of consistency with what it outputs. Maybe a stupid question, but does using Photon Fusion mean your game will be using dedicated servers, or can it do relay peer-to-peer too? It can. So Photon Fusion has like two modes that it can run in, either host or server mode. which like basically just means either you have a dedicated server or one of your players is the host player and they basically run as a server. And then they also have shared mode, which there you have like basically the server exists in the cloud on their infrastructure, and it's not really it's basically a relay server, and it, you know, handles the relaying for you and automatically ensures that players have, so like in shared mode, players have authority over their own objects and can modify their state and stuff, whereas in host mode or server mode, only the server or the host can do that. So you can do either with Fusion. Can you save the inertia tensor vector 3 at the start, then in the main loop just multiply that initial value? That's what I did, right? I mean, I'm doing it in the calculate values, which gets called anytime I change an inspector value. You still working on the game, Tom? I haven't seen a devlog from you in a long time. I am maybe not still working on it, but working on it again, because I've taken kind of a break from it for the last, well, nearly 3 years now, I think. So I'm kind of back to working on it. I just have less free time these days, so it's difficult to make much progress. Anyways, let's see here. Okay, so where is my multiplier? Okay, let's just see what happens if I put this to 1,000. Does that have any effect? It doesn't feel like it, does it? It is changing the value. Oh, but I probably need this to change, right? No, wait. The rotation of the inertia tensor. See, I don't know what exactly that means. The diagonal inertia tensor of mass relative to the center of mass. What does that mean? Okay, well that is definitely worse. But also, why are we turning around? I'm not turned left. As a piracy theme fan, I can say there isn't any good pirate game aside from Sea of Thieves. I agree. That's kind of why I'm building this, because I mean, I enjoy Sea of Thieves, but there's something appealing about building my own pirate game. What is happening? What was that rotation? Wait, is it because my players, like... Am I able to push the boat around? That doesn't seem right. Found AI helpful for tedious tasks. Yeah, I think, like, repetitive, tedious tasks, I think, is where AI can really shine. Okay, I need to... Have you played Replicube? No, I haven't. For someone who enjoys working on my own games in my free time, I have played probably for remarkably few, video games. Okay, well in Unity it's not, it seems to be represented by vector 3. Rotational analog of mass. The larger the inertia component about a particular axis is, the more torque that is required to achieve the same angular acceleration about that axis. 0 is not a valid inertia tensor component. Okay, but that should mean that if I increase it on the x... Oh, wait, I'm thinking about this wrong, because obviously if it's around the x-axis. So what I want is mainly probably around the z-axis, a bigger value, so there's less side to side, right? But I feel like, I don't know, it's hard to tell how effective this is. Like, it's pretty wobbly. Now I set it to 1000. Does it wobble slower? Or am I tripping? No, okay, it definitely... But now it's like acting very bouncy, which I don't like either. Where's your center of mass? Perhaps too high up. The center of mass is... the problem is this thing is moving. Let's just do that for a moment. It's in here somewhere. Center of gravity is right there. Because I set that one manually. Because I think if I allow it to auto set, it ends up somewhere up here. Because of like the mass collider and stuff. Okay, this looks really stupid. Just let that go in the water. Like the main issue is that it doesn't really stabilize, right? Which is maybe there's not enough drag in the vertical. If I multiply this by a few times, does that help at all? Wonder... Does that help it stabilize? If there's no wind forces? Trying to lower your center of gravity might help, you think? Did that actually affect the rigid body's center of gravity? I don't remember if I... No, it didn't. So it doesn't update automatically. Oh my goodness. I don't know if lowering the center of mass is the solution here. Maybe increasing, maybe? Let's just put it back for a moment. And maybe let's just kill the rotation for a moment and flip it back around. Oh, I can't flip it because of this. What? Force assign attempt for ship 1 is not valid. Oh boy. What? What is this about? Okay, why am I suddenly... Is this a Unity bug? It almost has to be, right? Maybe it works, even with those errors. Okay, what is going on here? What is this about now? I'm gonna restart the editor. Restarting Unity is always a solution. Yeah, this seems like it has to be caused by Unity because I didn't change anything and now there's suddenly errors when I press play. I'm like, what? Can you compile, please? Okay, let's see. Okay, seems like that solved it. Classic. I really need to re-add a way to just teleport myself onto the boat. I guess I don't actually need to be here right now. I could just... Gonna take the ship and move it manually. Oh. That's not what I meant to do. I feel like it doesn't have, like, changing the inertia tensor doesn't seem to have much of an effect, right? Oh yeah, moving the center of gravity. We wanted to do that. I remember there's a way to go quicker into play mode. It's under project settings, editor, enter play mode options. Are you talking about like the thing where it doesn't recompile every time? Project settings, editor. I think you mean this, right? Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I don't know. The load time right now doesn't really bother me, and that way I don't have to deal with issues that might come from not having the domain reload. Because, like, static variables don't get reset then, right? Which, I don't know if I'm using any of those, but could, in theory, cause problems that are unexpected. Did this help? I can't tell. That's the other problem with this physics stuff, is, like, it's so hard to tell when something has, like, an actually meaningful effect or improves. Oh, and the other thing is obviously that doesn't actually move the... I need to move it here, so now it didn't have any effect. What if we double that? Does that help? Interesting. I feel like it does help. Or does it? Man, I don't know. No, boat is very far away. Rebel, are you talking about disabling domain reload or scene reload, or both? Because if you disable the domain reload, that means like variables that are static will keep their value into the next like play session, basically, which can definitely cause problems and break things if you don't like write your code properly. Flip on its side and compare time to balance with different center of mass. You mean like this? The question is, does it ever balance? Because I don't know if it will. I feel like it kind of just ends up flip-flopping like this. I don't think increasing the center of mass is what we want here. Yeah, it makes it wobble quicker, which I think is because it means the center of buoyancy ends up applying more torque. Hey Lego, what's up? Keeping it with the same height as water might be a solution. Okay, I wonder if We kill the X rotation for a moment. Oh my... what? Oh dear. Oh dear. What is happening? Bro, come back. Oh my goodness. This is the mechanic I was looking for, yeah. Oh my goodness. I've seen that happen in Sea of Thieves, so it should be good to ship the game right now. Yeah, something not this extreme, but kind of similar happened to me the other day in Sea of Thieves. I was fighting a Megalodon and it just flipped my boat. Oh, now it's just gone. Classic. And this guy somehow ended on the shore. Okay. Why did freezing... I guess I shouldn't actually... I wanted to freeze the Z. That's what I actually wanted. But why did freezing the Z rotation... make that, like, do that? Okay, buddy. Stop. I wonder, maybe the reason that changing the inertia tensor doesn't really help is because it just... the inertia tensor changes its resistance to... like, you need more torque to get the same angular acceleration, right? But once you've achieved that angular acceleration, I don't think this is gonna prevent it from going faster or from maintaining its like angular momentum. So I don't know, maybe we do just need some angular drag on it. Like, what if we put even just some like angular damping on here? Does that do anything? It does. Look at that. It's acting like a balloon, not a ship. Yeah, pretty much. So maybe we just need some angular damping. No way high. It's been a good minute. It has been a while, yeah. Oh. Okay. Is it going to stabilize? It kind of looks like it. Okay, my mouse needs to stop right-clicking. Can you hold the right-click, please? Thank you. Okay, but this is promising, so maybe we just need to apply angular drag. What if I reset this now? Probably still want to... oh. Why does that happen? You're actually the reason why I started making multiplayer survival games, much love. Well, that's very kind of you to say. I'm glad. I'm assuming the multiplayer tutorials were helpful. In which case, I'm glad they were. Just call it a feature. Yeah, classic. Okay, now the question is... I probably don't want the angular damping to be that high, though. Like 0.5 seems like a lot. Or be like Bethesda and wait for the modders to fix it. Oh boy. Because the other thing is, ideally, I would just apply angular damping around the X and Z axes and not the Y, because then the rotation would be as affected. The other thing is, like, I feel like around the X should have much more damping than around, or no, sorry, around the Z axis this way should have more damping than around the X. Right, because the boat should be able to tilt backwards and forwards reasonably fast in response to the waves. Whereas sideways I feel like is less, like it shouldn't tilt quite as fast. And then around the Y-axis, obviously you want to be able to steer. I mean, I guess I can just increase the forces, but like right now it basically doesn't turn at all. But I can do something like this maybe. So need even more, 100,000. Wait. Is the anchor down? That's probably why it's not turning. Maybe I should lower that before I go flying into space. Okay, slow down, buddy. So maybe 0.5 is actually fine? I don't know. Is the boat floating gain yet? Do you mean gone? It is mostly gone, I think. There was an instance earlier where it went back to space, but I think that was more because of the wind. Oh yes, floating again, yes it is. We've just been dealing with angular damping. I don't know if maybe 0.5 is probably too much. What if we do like 0.2? The boat is flying, let alone floating. It does still fly occasionally, but I think most of the issues have been resolved. What if I... oops. Let's get some... Oh, okay, we're going backwards. That's not ideal. Why are we going backwards? Okay, here we go. Also, if I enable this, is that gonna... Okay, that's fine. Yo, you are still alive. I am indeed still alive. It's been a while. It's the flying ship from Peter Pan. It's not supposed to be, that's for sure. Okay, here we go. Okay, but no, see now it's flopping side to side again, so we need to increase this. 0.2 is not enough. The fact that if I do this, I start moving backwards is not good. I need to fix that. I don't know if you can tell, it's really subtle, but you're jittering around back and forth when you walk around. That was only because I had disabled the network rigid body component on here, so that I could move the boat around manually. As soon as I re-enabled it again, it stopped. Long time no see? Yeah, it's been a long time. Almost 3 years. Okay, let's see here. What have you been up to? Mostly just working. That's kind of the main thing. Okay, now I feel like we don't have enough. See, this is the problem. Oh no. The damping is now so high around all of the axes that it kind of feels like the boat can't react fast enough in this rotational direction. And so like the nose ends up going pretty deep underwater, even at like, this is a relatively low speed, I would say. So what I think we just need to do is break up the damping in the different axes. Back in the day, I waited so much for another upload, man, but glad you were working on this project. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Making videos about game dev is incredibly time consuming because you have to make the video, but like before you can make the video, you first need to actually make the game enough that you have something to talk about in a video. So it's like, it's probably one of the most time consuming niches on YouTube to make videos for. But I'm hoping to get back to the videos at some point. It just depends on how well, you know, the development goes. I feel like we're getting somewhere now with the buoyancy, I think. Due to the shape of the boat, it would have different damping on the two axes, yeah. Yeah, I agree. Because around, like, especially if you think about boats in real life, like, they have, like, the keel, right, which is supposed to provide a sideways force that counters the tilt that gets applied from the wind and stuff, and so like the keel is supposed to stabilize you on around the z-axis, and right now we don't have anything like that in the simulation. So I think we need to split the damping up so I can modify it per axis. You're back? Yes, I am. I am indeed back. I can imagine that making a game is a time-consuming process. Yeah, it is. It takes so much time, especially, I don't know, like the physics stuff like this. The annoying part about it is that half the time you don't know exactly what the issue is. And then it's also really hard to tell when your changes have solved a problem or if they've just made them super rare. Or like something about the circumstances of the physics scene is like not reproducing it properly. It's like there's a lot of fiddling with values. Thought about multi-streaming to Twitch as well. Not really. I haven't thought about that. How much effort is that to set up? Also then, do I have to read 2 chats then? That sounds like... I don't know, I just feel like since all my content is here on YouTube anyways, I don't know if streaming on Twitch is really that beneficial. Stick with the live streams, no production pressure. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do for now until I have like accumulated enough stuff to actually make a video about. The chat interaction definitely slows me down, yeah. Just fixed a bug that only happens sometimes in my app, and those are the worst because it's hard to tell why it happens because it only happens every once in a while. Yeah. You can't reproduce it consistently, it's a pain to try and fix it. You care a lot about the chat, I love it. Well, I mean, I'm streaming to interact with people, right? Like, I feel like if I didn't interact with the chat, that'd be really lame. And also, then why am I streaming it, you know? Twitch will have no viewers unless you consistently stream. Yeah. I think the discoverability on Twitch is pretty horrible. And since my audience is entirely on YouTube, I don't know if it makes sense to bother streaming over there as well. Anyways, let's split up the angular drag. And this is wait a second, add. Wait a second, you can add relative forces? I didn't realize that was a thing. Okay, well, add relative torque. And I think we're just gonna, this is old code that I actually deleted. So the local, okay. Right. So we need the we need the velocity, the angular velocity. And yeah, just saw you at the top of my recommended. Yeah, I think especially if you're subscribed, like YouTube will show the stream to my subscribers, and I have a decent amount of those, so you know, people actually show up to the streams. On Twitch, you want to get raids from other streamers basically to grow. Sounds about right. Does that happen often in the game dev niche? I don't even know if, like, do many people stream game dev on Twitch? Will you be uploading videos soon? I mean, I hope so, but it just depends on, like, how much progress I make and how interesting it is and whether or not, like, I can make an interesting video out of it. I think some of the, like, definitely some of this buoyancy and boat physics stuff will make for a good video, even just because there's a lot of, like, let's just say unintended behavior that happens, which is kind of funny. Should make friends with other Twitch streamers to get them to radio. Oh boy. It sounds like a lot of work, Zippy. Okay, so the angular velocity, I need to multiply that by my current angular drag multiplier. And then we're going to take this and just slide it in here. Why did I have... a second, what is that? Local angular velocity with drag minus local angular velocity. That seems unnecessary. Okay, the problem right now is that this is not in the right space, so I need to... It's probably easier if I just don't do relative torque and instead convert current angular drag multiplier equals transform dot transform vector, is that what I want? I think I want direction to convert the multiplier. But then I can possibly end up with negative values again, which is a pain. Yeah, because then I need to do the same thing I did earlier with the other stuff. Good luck, man. Hope you have a smooth sail. Haha. Thank you. Are you heading out, Potato? Current drag. It's really annoying. I don't want to have to absolute all of these. That's not what I meant to do. Oops. Why said... Yeah, I have to go. It's like 1 AM right now. Ah, fair. Have a good night then. Body angular velocity. So now that should be in the right space. But it needs to be... Wait a second. 1 minus angular drag. I don't think I want this to be 1 minus. Because if I set the drag to 0.6, 2 and 2. Hmm. Point 6, 2 and 2, so then I want that to be the size of the drag force, so I don't actually want a 1 minus in here. I think that's why I had that other subtraction in the old code. Okay. And then that might work at this point, possibly. Let's see what happens. Hey, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. In your experience, which do you think works best for multiplayer networking? Mirror, netcode for game objects, or Photon? Well, here's the thing. I'm probably a little... Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Why did the player also disappear? I'm a little bit biased on that question because, well, I'm using Photon Fusion in this project. I also work for Photon. So I would probably say Photon. I've never really... Like, my one experience with Mirror was not great, but that might have been in part because I was like... I was basically trying to implement it for somebody else who wanted me to, like, make it work with a bunch of assets which were not built for multiplayer, and so that was just... Like, I was trying to learn how to use Mirror at the same time as trying to convert all these assets that are not built for multiplayer into multiplayer. And so that definitely didn't make my experience with Mirror a good one. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Take my like experience with Mirror with a grain of salt, but also I think both Mirror and netcode for game objects, like I'm pretty sure Unity themselves have said netcode for game objects doesn't like scale super well past 10 or 20 players. Photon Fusion definitely does. Like we have that Battle Royale sample that is, I think it works up to 200 players at 60 ticks per second, which is, it's pretty good, you know. I used Photon Pun, which was pretty great. Tobias is really responsive even to today. Yeah, I think we do a pretty good job at, you know, responding to help requests, I would say. Not to toot our own horn too much. Then I used Unity ML API, which was also quite nice. Yeah, that's what they turned into netcode for game objects, right? Have you used ML API since they like renamed it and rebranded it? Oh, you work on the Photon team. Yeah, I work on Photon Fusion as of like 1.5 years ago. So I'm definitely a little biased if you ask me which netcode solution to use. Okay, why is the boat going out of control? Probably because this needs to be... It needs to be scaled. And then it needs to be... So we multiply it by the multiplier, and then we need to apply it in the negative direction. That's what we probably need. Used ML API 2 to 3 years ago. I don't actually know when they rebranded it. Or when they like bought it out. I think that's probably longer than 2 to 3 years ago now. Okay. Promising. It's not freaking out. Oops. Okay, and then I think we can probably also... Let's try like... What do we want here? Around the Z, probably... Try like a 0.75. Maybe let's do point 0.4 around that one, and around the X we'll just do 0.15. How about that? And then let's see what happens. Get the anchor up. Okay, how fast do we turn now? I feel like that's a reasonable speed. Here we go. Okay, this definitely feels a lot more stable in terms of the rotation, which is good. The speed is a lot though right now. I think we need more turn force because it's not. Okay, we're getting air, that's not ideal. We're also nosing into the water too much still. Oh boy. This is about to go very poorly. Oh! If I let this out a little, maybe we'll go slower. I can probably reduce this a little bit actually. Okay, I mean, I feel like this is a pretty good spot now. Although obviously when you're going fast and like into the waves like this, it's you sink too low and it kind of kills too much of your momentum. But I think for the most part, this is pretty good. It's definitely much better than it was. Maybe the boat needs more mass or to be affected less by buoyancy. I mean, maybe. The thing is, like, I don't want to start using, you know, mass values that are, I don't know, realistic. Because then things just get really big. And I have experimented with increasing the mass, and it doesn't really feel any different. The problem right now, I think, is that I don't know actually what the problem right now is. The nose is going into the water too much, which can maybe be resolved by increasing this to like 15. Maybe that'll help. Because that shouldn't, but then it also makes it a lot bouncier. So I don't think that's actually a good thing. But if I reduce it below 10, it kind of, like if I do 5, he starts sinking in even further. So maybe 12. know, this is sort of the point where it's like, I think now I just have to fiddle around with the values, and I really don't enjoy doing that. It's such a pain. Yeah, we're getting a lot of air right now. That's not ideal. Whoa. Whoa! No! No! Well. Goodbye, boat. Oh my goodness. Man overboard is right. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, the wind forces definitely need some work. Because especially once the boat comes out of the water and there's no more like water drag on it, suddenly it just goes shooting away. Got some impressive area, it did. What holds the nose up? Just overall buoyancy? Yeah, just the floaters are like distributed along the boat. So the ones in the front, when they like, when the sample points go underwater, they generate a buoyant force. I wonder... Because maybe this is part of the problem, having such high vertical drag. But then it's just going to cause the boat to sink in further. Can the floaters resist going underwater? Yeah, I mean, that's what the buoyancy force kind of does, right? Because that goes upwards. And so that sort of resists the boat going in the water. But yeah, this is obviously an issue and needs to be resolved. This cannot... Like, look at this. Maybe it's just how the hull acts in water. I know speedboats have specialized shapes to avoid this kind of thing. I mean, maybe, but also like the boat doesn't really have a concept of hull shape. Like I've kind of just approximated that all using the floaters, but it really doesn't... Like it has different resistance along, like sort of based on the area. And I've given it like multipliers based on the shape. Just of like, oh, this side would obviously be more aerodynamic than this side, so it's going to be easier to move that direction, but I don't know. Like the main issue here is obviously like it bounces up and out and then it dives too far down and it comes bouncing back up. And we get this repetitive cycle where it comes out of the water entirely. And once it's out of the water, that's when like the forces on the sail can really just send the boat going. Oh. Okay, that's impressive that it recovered from that though. You need to turn this into a screensaver, do I? This might have to go into the next video. Maybe I need to record this right now. It's going so fast. I mean, part of the problem is also that I think the wind forces are just way too big. And then, especially once it like jumps out of the water and the drag force is gone, then it just takes off. It's also kind of funny how it keeps... I mean, maybe I don't... Did I leave the wheel turned? I don't think I did. But it keeps going this... in this loop. Back and forth. Okay, one more lift off and then I'm... There it is. Oh boy. In my mind, the weight should never allow it to fly. But then you need to increase the buoyancy, causing more bobbing. Well, it's not really a weight thing that's causing it to fly, right? Because objects with different mass fall at the same speed. Assuming they have, like, the same shape and resistance. At this point I would suggest just smoothing the buoyancy force. What do you mean by smoothing? Like applying some kind of multiplier to it? Oh, I should have grabbed the values I set. What were they? I think that was, what was it, like 0.6? I think 0.4 and 0.15. And a turn force of 3. Can stop recording now. Applying less for the surface and more for the deeper you go. I mean, I do that. I scale the buoyancy force based on how much of the boat is submerged. Might be a thing in your simulation already. Yeah, it is. It is. Because I calculate like how much is submerged, like what portion. And then here it gets multiplied by the displaced volume, which is an approximation of how much of the boat's volume is underwater. Okay, but I think this is good progress. I feel like current drag multiplier, I don't use that anymore. I need to clean this code up a little bit. Right, but then it pops out of the water, not sure how you balance that. Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe that needs to be a drag. Like drag needs to pull it down. I don't know. I'm not sure how to address that. Because, yeah, I mean, if it goes into the water and then pops back out. But the other thing is, like, it's not really an issue in, like, calm water, or if you're riding with the waves. Like, it's sort of, the issue is dependent on the wave direction. Because if I sail the opposite direction and go with the waves, it doesn't jump out of the water like that, in part because it's just not, it's not like hitting the waves the same way. And so part of it is actually realistic, it's just that it's bouncing up too much, right? And even if it were to somehow jump out of the water entirely, it needs to not then start flying away because of, like, the wind force just not having any drag left to slow it down. So I don't know what the best way to approach that is. Maybe you could just cap the max force it can add up to. Maybe, but I don't know. Then you end up in situations where it doesn't look right again because you have this artificial, arbitrary maximum on it. I mean, the other question actually here is, because in the past I was I... Wait, horizontal drag, how was that calculated previously? That was the point drag, which I think was divided by, yeah, it was divided. So maybe I'm applying too much drag and that's part of the issue. That could also be. That might be it. It seems to gain a bunch of speed in the air and dive into the water with it. Yeah, it's definitely part of the problem. The fact that, like, the wind is suddenly unrestrained by the drag force because it's out of the water and then it just goes flying. Add air drag. There is air drag, and it's based on the, like, proportional density of air and water. So in theory, like, it should be a relatively accurate approximation of what you would get in real life, but obviously I'm missing something. I guess the wind force isn't receiving the drag immediately, so maybe a part of the problem is that it has, I don't know, there's a lot of potential factors that could be the issue, but maybe I actually just need to, because I didn't think about this, if the velocity at if I'm taking the velocity at a point and applying drag to it, should that drag be divided by the number of times I'm applying drag? Possibly? That could be part of the issue. I mean, maybe we just try and see what happens. Although, wait, don't I actually already divide this? Oh yeah, I already do, so never mind, that's already factored in. I think I'm just gonna clean this up a little bit and then probably call it for today. Getting kind of hungry too. Another cursed idea, you could just make it so it only accelerates in the water. Not at all accurate, but hey, it might not be as noticeable since you're not really losing speed much in the air. This is true, actually. The problem is then it's going to be affected by how submerged you are. So you're going to go faster if your boat is deeper in the water, which doesn't make any sense either. But yeah, there might be some kind of like something like that we can apply to it, which isn't realistic, but which solves the problem. But it's hard to like think of something that works without kind of breaking it in other scenarios. I mean, the other question is, do I... Add a continuous force to the rigid body using its mass. I also wonder, because right now I'm applying drag and buoyancy as a force, and gravity as an acceleration, which ignores the mass, but obviously gravity is an acceleration. So maybe that's fine. Rigid body dot add force at position. Force. Yeah, I'm not sure what the solution is. Does your rigid body already have a drag? Maybe they're stacking weird. No, it doesn't. The ship has like the built-in, I don't use the built-in linear angular damping. Look forward to seeing what the fix will be. Good luck. Thank you. I think I need some luck here. This can go. And also, this is a very verbose name. I don't need... I don't even need this to be a value that I store, I think. I can just... do that. And then... take that out and rename it. At least that's a little bit shorter. Now the question is... am I sticking with applying the gravity in the corners? I think so. Although... now that I actually have the angular damping back, let's see if... because maybe changing that also helps a bit. Whoa. Why are we tipping like that? Do I need to increase this again? Oh dear. That actually might have helped a little bit, setting the drag around the X to 0. Oh, might have spoken too soon. We're not getting quite as much air now. But we're still dipping very low into the water in the front. And the bouncing is definitely... Oh my goodness, the bouncing is still happening now. Oh. Yeah, I think I spoke too soon. Oh dear. Are you applying the wind force? Maybe it's relative to the boat and pushing it into the water. If we were like perpendicular to the up direction, it wouldn't do that. To be honest, I don't remember how I'm applying the wind force. I don't think it's relative to the boat. Yeah, because I flatten the forward vector that I pass into it. Although, wait, does this not even get used in here? Apparently not. Wait a second. But so then, okay, so if I'm not using the boat direction though. Oh, I am using transform it forward. Land. So yeah, I mean, it never has a y component, this vector, then. So I don't think that's the issue, but I don't know. I feel like we've made decent progress today. And I'm getting hungry, so I think I might call it here. So, thank you all very much for joining me for physics experiments. And yeah, maybe next time I stream I'll have figured it out, hopefully, because I kind of want to do something else on stream next time. It's been enough messing around with physics. So, all right, have a good evening or morning or whatever, wherever you are, and I'll see you next time.